Hare Krishna. Welcome for another session of Bhagavad Gita reading. So today we'll be starting with the 8th sloka of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सा अद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिते नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So I'll be reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized, sloka number 8. Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyat yachokamuchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumavasapatnam riddham rajam suranam apichadipatyam. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Purport. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve this real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Sri Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc., are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by the spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Sudra Ke Ninaya E Krishna Tattva Vitta Se Guru Haya. It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, a learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect and bona fide spiritual master. So we see that Krishna doesn't see the externals, whether you are learned Brahmana or whether you are born in a low class family or whether you are a sannyasi or a grahastha or a man or a woman, it doesn't matter to him. What matters to him is, are you Krishna conscious? Is your consciousness fully surrendered to Krishna? That is all what Krishna says. If a person's consciousness is fully surrendered to Krishna, then he is a spiritual master, regardless of whatever his external conditions are. So this Krishna is not an external person, he's an internal person. Krishna sees the internal qualities of a person, not the external show off. So that is why spiritual life is more about our internal purification than what we show externally. Why I sit and do meditation for 5 hours, 7 hours. It is not externally what you show, but what is our consciousness internally. That is what matters to Krishna. So here Krishna himself says this. So, without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in the Vedic literature, Shat karma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharadaha avaishnavo gururna syat vaishnava swapacho guruhu. A scholarly Brahmana, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. This is from the Padma Purana. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. So, these are the four problems in life: birth, death, old age, and disease. No one can stop this, and it comes on its own account, and we cannot stop it from coming. We may put dye to show that, oh, I am still young, but then we are getting aged. We have diseases. We might eat medicines to cure the disease for some time, but it keeps coming. Diseases are there, and birth is definitely there, yes, and death will definitely be there. We cannot stop. We can do all alterations to not die or anything, but then it can be delayed maybe, but then death is definite. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed, yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna through the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. So, this is very, very important. So, here we see that Arjuna. Uh, he says that even if you give me $1 million or whatever, you give me the sovereignty or of that of the demigods, you give me the wealth, the entire wealth of the whole world, but still I don't think these things will take away the grief from my heart. So this is now Arjuna is being truthful here. Arjuna says that, see, all these external things will not give me peace. So at the present time we think that if I get a car I'll be happy, if I get a good family I'll be happy, if I get this, if I get that, if I get a degree, if I get a job, all those things I'll be happy. But then that doesn't. But then here Arjuna says he's being told that everything is everything. He will get everything. He says, I even if I get everything I will not be happy. So happiness is in the contentment of the heart. Your money or your job or your position or your fame or uh, anything in the society or whatever we think is very dear to us will not give satisfaction for the heart. This is very, very important to understand. Our goal of life is to be happy. If our heart is not satisfied, then what is the point in having all these external things? So Arjuna is being truthful here. He says this. So Arjuna is putting forward so many things, so many religious principles, moral codes, but all this, even though, and he is intelligent, he is very intelligent, he knows all this, and even after having all this knowledge about the ethics, about the moral codes, about the religious principles, what he's supposed to do, what he's not supposed to do, being a kshatriya, though he knows everything. He knows he has the talent even to control the Brahmastra. Imagine that is Arjuna, but still he look at his position. So this is even if I have all the knowledge in the world, even I might be a big scientist or something, but then those knowledge will not help me give happiness to my heart. What gives me satisfaction to the heart? What takes away the problems in my life? What takes away the grief for my heart? Yeah, so here Prabhupada writes in the purport, the so-called knowledge was useless in driving away the problems which were drying up his whole existence. The academic knowledge or scholarship or any of these things are useless in solving the problems of life. So how do we solve the problems of life? It has to be given by Krishna. So we have to surrender to Srimad Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam through a bona fide spiritual master. Now Krishna says, so it is not Arjuna got that relief by surrendering to Krishna. So similarly, now Krishna is the supreme Lord. Now we'll say, okay, fine, there is no Krishna here. How will I surrender to Krishna? He's not there. So Krishna has given us the knowledge in this Bhagavad Gita by surrendering to Srimad Bhagavad Gita. But how do we surrender to Srimad Bhagavad Gita? We have to hear from an authorized person. We don't have Krishna. I mean, we might not see Krishna with our present eyes, but then we have to surrender to a person who is fully surrendered to Krishna. We are not fully surrendered to Krishna. That is why we go through problems in our life. If I don't have any problem, if I don't have any perplexities, if I am peaceful at all situations in my life, then I can say, okay, fine, good. I have surrendered to the Lord to some extent. But I go through a lot of problems. Go through a lot of perplexities. I don't even know why all these things are happening, which means I am perplexed, which means we are not surrendered. So we have to surrender. So just by reading Bhagavad Gita, yes, we will understand to some extent by the mercy of the Lord if we are sincere. But then our mind tries to manipulate many things. Well, this might be like this. Maybe Krishna told like this. So we are thinking with our what to say impure mind. We put in our understanding into what Krishna says. So that is not how we have to understand the Bhagavad Gita. So that is why we all have to surrender to a person who is fully Krishna conscious, who has surrendered 100% to Krishna, which means that it is like in what to say electrical engine or what do you say electricals or that subject, you know, right? There is a wire connecting a battery and a bulb. Yeah. So or maybe like the electric wires that you see which carries current from the substation to the different houses, right? So what happens in those electric wires, you have something called the resistance, isn't it? So what happens? Resistance is the resistance to the flow of current. That is what we call it, right? It resists the flow of current. So the more the resistance is, the difficult it is for the current to flow through that wire. But when the resistance is less, what happens? The current can flow very easily. That is why we use copper conductors. Copper conductors have less resistance to electricity. So then they allow the current to pass through it. Whereas when you say wood or paper, it has a lot of resistance. It doesn't allow current to pass through it, or rubber or anything. That is why people wear rubber chappals or something, rubber gloves when they work with electric currents, because so that they don't get shock. I mean, they don't get that electric shock. So there are materials which conduct electricity, which allow the current to pass freely, whereas there are materials which does not allow the current to pass through easily. So this knowledge which is coming from Krishna, the mercy of Krishna, whatever knowledge Krishna is giving to Arjuna, we have to accept that knowledge without any resistance. We have to be like the copper conductors which allow the free flow of Krishna's mercy and knowledge to us, so that we can face the challenges of life. But what happens is our mind acts as this resistance. Our mind resists so many things. It doesn't want to surrender to the Supreme Lord. So that is why, so similarly, we understand we have to surrender to a person who has 100% surrendered to Krishna, which means that he has removed all those resistance. He has removed those resistance and have allowed the mercy of Krishna to pass through him 100%, not even 99, 100%. Such a person is actually having full of Krishna's energy, or Krishna's invested his mercy on that person. So what happens, it doesn't mean that he is what to say he is Krishna. It means that he is a person who has surrendered to Krishna, who has silenced his mind so that the mind does not resist to the knowledge of Krishna. He is the one who has controlled his mind, because the mind is acts as the resistance. He controlled his mind, and he did not allow the mind to resist what mercy Krishna is giving us, the knowledge that Krishna is giving us. He is pure in his consciousness. He did not use his mind in between to think or manipulate whatever the knowledge Krishna is giving. So such a person is called a surrendered person. So when we say we surrender to Krishna, means we stop our mental speculation, we stop resisting many things, we allow the knowledge, allow what Krishna has to give us, to allow it to come to us, and surrender to Krishna and act according to his instruction, act according to the instructions of our guru. So it's like an example, like in my life, like what happened was, There was one devotee, so I was under them. And this Mataji, she asked me, like, have you read Bhagavad Gita? I said, I have tried reading Bhagavad Gita so many times, but somehow I'm not able to finish it. I'm still stuck. Not even once. I had not even read Bhagavad Gita once, even completely. So I'm so stuck up. I'm thinking so much. I like it was like that. So then I told her I'm not able to understand. Even if I'm reading it, I don't understand anything. It looks like an alien language to me. I don't understand anything. So I don't have that motivation to read Bhagavad Gita. Then she asked me one question. She said, did I ask you to understand? I said, what? You don't want me to understand? She said, I did not ask you to understand. I just asked you to read Bhagavad Gita. I was like, oh my god. So that is different. Reading Bhagavad Gita and understanding Bhagavad Gita is like entirely different. She said, you just put in the effort to just read Bhagavad Gita. Understanding or realization comes by Krishna's mercy. When he wants to give, he will give. You just put in the effort to read, just read it. So I asked her, even if I don't understand anything, I just blankly, I just keep reading. She said, yes, just keep reading. I just read it. There were many things which I did not even understand. I just okay. She just asked me to read. She did not even ask me to understand or try to read it twice or anything. I just kept reading. I just kept reading. Whether I understood or not, I just kept, page after page. I just kept reading. Only thing when I don't understand anything, which are like completely what something and all is written, I don't understand. Okay, she asked me to only read. I just read. I kept on reading. I finished the Bhagavad Gita. The day I finished, I felt so relieved. I was so happy. I don't know what happiness it is. Is it because of what I understood? I did not understand a single word, but I felt so relieved. Then the second time I started reading Bhagavad Gita again, because we were supposed to read it two times. Second time I started reading, it made lot of sense. Lot of sense. The same thing I read earlier, which did not make any sense to me, it made lot of sense to me. So I was thinking, oh my god, this is beautiful. And so she said, see, it is only the effort that we can put. Krishna sees our effort, and then it is only by his mercy that we can understand the Gita. So he saw that you have put in the effort to complete reading the Bhagavad Gita once, because of which he has given you his blessings by which you are able to understand Bhagavad Gita when you read it the second time. So it our duty is not to understand or realize or any, we don't have that capability. It has to be given to us by Krishna. And it will be we are pure souls and we have this all this knowledge and understanding, but then it is covered so much. So the moment we read, what happens, we are showing our sincerity to the Lord. So he has to clean the dirt in the heart. So he cleans the dirt in the heart, because of which we understand ourselves more, or we are the nature of the soul gets exposed a little more, and we try to understand, or we'll understand whatever we read better and better. So what happened here was I just simply surrendered to the statement or the words of my mentor or my guide. She just said it. I said, okay, fine, I'll just do it. So but see the result of it. The result of it is like amazing. Oh, you just listen. You just have to close your eyes and just do what they say. Not to, not don't surrender to anyone or everyone, but to a person who is Krishna conscious. Now we might not see a person maybe 100% Krishna conscious, but suppose if say like you are 5% Krishna conscious, you take guidance from whoever is higher than you, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. You take guidance from them. By the time you reach to that level, maybe they must have gone to a higher level. You can still take guidance from them. Or if suppose not, what happens, you go, you can find, and if once you reach 10%, go take guidance from a person who's 30% or 50% or on a higher level. That is why people say you have to surrender to a pure devotee. You have to take shelter of a pure devotee. So what happens is maybe we might not find or anything of pure, but Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee, has given us this Bhagavad Gita. But even when we read the Bhagavad Gita, what happens is we might need someone to help us understand it, right? Because our life situations are entirely different. That is why we should have a guru who can guide us. We should have a living guru who is there, who can guide us. So we take shelter, maybe not 100%, even if 90%, we take shelter of them. We, because we are in 1%, 2%, 3%, we take their shelter and we take their guidance and we follow their instructions. Maybe sometimes what happens is like I am just 1% or 2% on the process. So what the person at the 90% level says, maybe it is like beyond what I can understand. Yeah, what is he saying? I don't even understand. How come by just chanting I will get purified? I can go back to Krishna. It's like a it's like we don't understand. It doesn't make sense. But then we simply follow their instructions. So but maybe we are not so surrendered that to follow their instruction. Maybe then we come to some level, we take the guidance of someone who's at the 20% or 30% level, whom we can relate to much easier. We take their guidance, whoever it is. But you see, they are on the path. They might not be 100%, but make sure they are on the right path, so that they are on the path for 100%. If that is their goal, then you can take their guidance. But they all should take, even they who are on the 30%, they should be taking guidance under someone who is above them. So that is also very important. It's not that you take guidance from a person who is 30% purified, but he is not making any effort to purify himself further, or he is not under the guidance of someone who is higher than him and taking his guidance to purify himself, which means he is not being sincere. So there is no point in taking guidance of such a person. But you take how much ever you can, you see your level and go according to it. So it is very, very important to take guidance from spiritual master. That is what Lord Chaitanya says. And it is regardless of their external appearance, but it is about their internal consciousness. How much are they surrendered to Krishna? This is very, very important. Only when we start surrendering to Krishna, we understand what is surrender, and we'll be able to see it in others. Yeah. So if economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentation for family, social, national, or international inabilities, then Arjuna would not have said that even unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of demigods in the heavenly planets would be unable to drive his lamentation, which clearly shows that all these external material things cannot drive away the lamentation in our heart, the perplexities in our heart. He sought, therefore, refuge in Krishna consciousness, and that is a right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at a moment, very beautiful, by the cataclysms of material nature. Material nature can stop. You have just one earthquake, whatever you thought very great, everything will go underneath. Even elevation into a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Kshine punye martyalogam vishanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lowest status of life. So it is all depends on our karma. It is like what we discussed earlier. It's like your bank balance. The moment it is over, don't even expect to get anything. It's over. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna as Arjuna is seeking to do. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. So it is only through Krishna consciousness, the knowledge that we get from Krishna through the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, heard from a pure devotee, can all this lamentation from our heart be removed. Sloka number 9. Sanjaya Uvacha Eva Muktva Rishikesham Gudakesha Parantapah Na Nayotsya iti Govindam Uktva Tushnim babhuvaha. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna is not going to fight and was instead leaving the battlefield for the begging profession. That is what Arjuna said. I'm going to beg. I don't want to fight. It's better I go and beg. So when Dhritarashtra heard all this, oh, this is what Arjuna is feeling right now. Oh, maybe he will go for the begging profession. He will not fight. But Sanjaya disappointed him. He disappointed Dhritarashtra again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies. So when when Sanjaya told Dhritarashtra, what did he say? Eva muktva rishikesham gudakesha parantapa. So Parantapa is another name of Krishna, which means that he's a chastiser of enemies. He will chastise or he will punish the enemies. So he is not an ordinary person. So so here Sanjay is saying, though Arjuna said this, that he doesn't want to fight and he will go for begging, but he also made the statement, but Arjuna is not an ordinary person. He will not just leave like that. He is Parantapa. But Sanjay disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies. He is Parantapa. Although Arjuna was for the time being overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, but the important point is, though we might be going through all difficulties, but where are we taking shelter from? That will show our future. Right? Maybe for the time being, yes, I am perplexed or I am depressed or anything. But how am I trying to find solution for this? Who am I surrendering to? From where am I taking guidance from? That shows me my future. Right. So here, although Arjuna was for the time being, yes, he is overwhelmed with grief, false grief due to family affection. But what happened? He surrendered onto Krishna, the supreme spiritual master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be freed from the false lamentation resulting from family affection and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self realization or Krishna consciousness and would then surely fight. So this is the beauty of it. So maybe when Dhritarashtra heard all this conversation before the sloka, maybe when Dhritarashtra heard all what is going through in Arjuna's mind, Dhritarashtra must have thought, maybe, oh, wonderful. Now he will leave the battlefield and he will go for begging and nothing much to worry about because they were worried about Arjuna and Bhima. They were very strong. Now Arjuna, who is the very strongest, he is leaving. So that is how people who are very very good at nature, good at heart. What happens when these confusions come? They are capable of doing a lot, but then these confusions and the doubts in the heart make them weak. So but then at that point, if they are given a lot of guidance and encouragement like how Krishna is giving Arjuna, they can become victorious. So this is very very important. Most of the time this is what happens to us. But then, and that is why the evil wins, the other side wins, because we gave up. The good people, they gave up. So instead of giving up, yes, we all go through difficulties, we all go through confusions, all those things. But at that point, that rather than giving up, you have to surrender to the right person. That is the right method of progress, right? So that is exactly what Arjuna did. And so it says that, so it indicates that soon he'll be free from the false lamentation. Thus, Dhritarashtra's joy would be frustrated since Arjuna would be enlightened by Krishna and would fight to the end. So this is the beauty of it. So, whatever difficulties come, just surrender to the right person, and the right person is none other than Krishna. Surrender to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, hear from the authorized source. That will help us progress, not just sit there depressed. One who is surrendered to Krishna need not worry, unlike for a soul who is not surrendered. Yes, the external false grief and lamentation for a soul surrendered to Krishna is only for a short span. It will just, because we have surrendered to Krishna, it just goes away. Krishna will take care of us. Nothing to worry about it. So that's the beauty of it. 10th one. Tam uvacha rishikesha prahasan iva bharata senayorubayor madhye vishidantam idam vachaha. O descendant of Bharata, at that time, Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Rishikesha and the Gudakesha. As friends, both of them were on the same level. But one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. That is, Arjuna became the student of Krishna. Krishna was smiling because a friend has chosen to become a disciple. So it's like that. Like you have your friend, close friend, suddenly he says, "I want your guidance." Like that beautiful smile in Krishna. You just try to visualize that. So Krishna was smiling because a friend has chosen to become a disciple. Now that's interesting. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone. So Krishna is definitely the master of each and everyone. But it is out of his causeless mercy that he is coming to become a friend, a son, a husband, or anything, and have that relation with every one of us. So it's like you have the president or the prime minister of the country. He is definitely the powerful, the most powerful in that country. But then when he comes down to interact with his subjects, and he sits and eats with some of the citizens, that doesn't mean he lost his position. It is out of his love for the citizens. He's coming and sitting with us, and he's having food, or he's talking to us, and he plays with the children, all those things. He does it because of his love for us. But if we try to think that, oh, he is no more a president, he is just an ordinary person like all of us, so we can speak and talk to him however way we want. No, that is our lack of understanding. We should not take his loving nature towards us as for granted, and consider him at a lower state. He is always that president or the prime minister. So that is the same thing with Krishna. Though Krishna has come down, he looks like a human being. He talks and he walks around with everyone. Doesn't mean that he lost his status as a supreme controller of the entire cosmic creation. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone, and yet the Lord agrees to be a friend, a son, or a lover for a devotee who wants him in such a role. So he is obeying the instructions of his devotees. If the devotee, Krishna, I want you to as a son, yeah, okay, fine, I'll come as a son. So that is the beauty of the Lord. Now, if you think that, oh, Krishna is listening to whatever I say, then that means that I am becoming foolish here. It is because of his benevolence he is doing that. But if I take it for granted and I think that, oh, he is just listening to me as a puppet, then that is my foolishness. We'll see how Arjuna says at the end, after seeing the Vishwarupa, Arjuna says, oh my god, you were such a person, and look at the way how I was treating you. So Arjuna comes to that at the end. Yes. As a son or a love, as a devotee who wants him in such a role. But when he was accepted as a master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master. So Krishna can take any role with gravity, and it is required. So Krishna was talking with all gravity. So guru means what do we mean? It's a person who is heavy. He will speak. The guru will speak with all seriousness, with all gravity, with all that heaviness of that knowledge. He speaks in that way. There is no time to fool around between. That is not the conversation between a guru and a disciple. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all. And friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. So what Krishna is speaking to Arjuna is not only for Arjuna, it is even for the Kauravas. So whoever at that point hears the message of Krishna and gets that knowledge, they are all benefited, whether they are Pandavas or Kauravas. So that is the knowledge which Krishna is going to give. It is an unbiased knowledge which Krishna is giving. It is not that, oh, because Arjuna is my friend, he is giving this knowledge. No, it is meant for everyone. It is meant for everyone, without any bias. So with this, we'll stop here, and the next session we'll continue reading from the 11th sloka of Bhagavad Gita. So I hope this is interesting, and the 12th sloka is a little bit long, so it might take some time. All right. So thank you so much for joining. See you again very soon. Vanchakalpataruभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवत गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज की जय। नताय गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। Hare Krishna.